You may be thinking to yourself, did he just take 40 minutes to tell me better safe than sorry? Pretty much. Only it's a bit more well-founded because better safe than sorry does apply to building a defense system against giant mutant space hamsters, just in case some attack. And as I hope you've seen, this risk management is robust enough to not be slain by that criticism, because we established the credibility of the threat. Also, I've heard the criticism that this is the precautionary principle, which is supposedly self-contradictory, at least according to what I could find from Michael Crichton and Wikipedia, both well-credentialed philosophers. Regardless of the validity of the precautionary principle, this ain't it, because this isn't formulated with the criterion of scientific consensus, but just likelihood of outcome. Plus, if you think it's self-contradictory and invalid, go tell that to the casinos that there's no way they're going to make any money if they keep giving the stuff away all day. I'm sure they'll appreciate your keen insight. Before we wrap up this brief exploration of risk management, there are a few loose threads to tie up, most of them objections that I've heard about these arguments. Objection. I think we'll innovate ourselves out of any problem. We always have in the past. I mean, we're still here, right, Mr. Gloomy? My response is, you don't base your decision to buy car insurance on optimism, but on a realistic assessment of the worst-case scenario. I'm not going to buy insurance because I think I'm a pretty good driver, so if anything happens, I'll get out of it. We pay to insure our cars, our homes, our health, without knowing for certain that anything bad is going to happen. Why is it suddenly different here? As for putting faith in science to get us out of any jams in the future, that's pretty much what the scientists are trying to do right now, but no one's listening. They're saying, knock off with the carbon emissions because it's probably going to totally hose us. I think the only reason we're still talking about this is that NAS and AAAS don't have huge advertising budgets to get the word out. And the exuberant faith that our innovation will magically do whatever we need it to quickly becomes ridiculous. The late Julian Simon, a well-respected economist, and, I've read, Bjorn Lomborg's inspiration for writing The Skeptical Environmentalist, actually wrote, quote, "The quantity of copper that will ever be available to us is not finite," unquote. Wait, if something's not finite, doesn't that mean it's infinite? Is he saying there's an infinite amount of copper available to us? Is he still reading those alchemy books? Do you think on a scientific issue it's wise to listen to people who are so clearly ignorant of science? As for the idea that we shouldn't get all worked up because, hey, we've always managed to avoid global catastrophe in the past, right? That just reminds me too much about what a good friend of mine in high school used to say. He'd do careless, stupid things, and when I chided him they should be more careful, he'd say, "I haven't died yet. Not gonna." It was a joke. It was funny. He's dead now from driving drunk, and that's not funny. That's deadly serious. Is that really the way we want to decide on a public policy that influences everybody on the planet? We haven't hosed ourselves yet, so we're not gonna? Objection. That grid is just Pascal's wager, which has more holes than Swiss cheese. You can't put lipstick on that pig. No, but can I put the pig on cheese and rye? Nah, it just looks like Pascal's wager because they are both basic decision grids. What sunk his was the infinite payoffs and assumptions without evidence. This one has finite payoffs and assumptions based on evidence. So knock it off with the Pascal's wager. Objection. Whatever negative economic consequences show up in the upper left would show up in the bottom left too, since they're a function of our action, not of what the physical world ends up doing. So if we choose action, we're doomed to economic harm. Therefore, choose column B. My response is, remember, the negative economic consequences of the left column are just the worst case possibilities. They are not guaranteed to happen. Just like the negative physical consequences of the right column are not guaranteed to happen. These are possibilities. So choosing action does not doom us to economic harm, or even economic costs for that matter. It's just the worst case possibility. Watch the video How It All Ends, Get What You Want to see how it's actually quite likely that column A would be a net benefit to the economy. Anyway, if you think adding the worst case economic scenario to the bottom left corner would change the expected value of column A compared to column B, that's a pretty complicated calculation. Well, actually, it's a pretty simple calculation, but coming up with the numbers to do that is pretty complicated. If you do want to do that, then go watch the video How It All Ends, the Manpala Project, and we'll take it on. Objection. We should be saving up for real threats, like the asteroid Apophis hitting us in 2036. If we squandered our money on the climate change boondoggle, we'll be too economically crippled to do anything about it. Okay, that one's just bizarre, and I heard it several times. You're going to believe scientists when they talk about space rocks, but not when they talk climate science? And if you really do believe the space rock scientists, then you haven't been paying attention, because that rock has been taken off the danger list. If that's your reason for not worrying about climate change, I'm afraid you got bigger problems. Objection. It's not that simple. What about the intermediaries between no action and all-out action? What if climate change is happening, but we're not the ones doing it? What if climate change is happening and we're the ones doing it, but our actions don't stop it, or they make it worse? You need more columns and rows. My response is, okay, let's talk about that. Take a swing through How It All Ends, Why There Is Still Debate, and then I'll meet you at How It All Ends, The Manpower Project, where we'll get radical and totally blow this grid up. For the rest of you, when you look at the statements from AAAS and NAS saying that climate change is a real threat, and the statements from so many industry and economic sources saying that taking action will probably help rather than hurt the economy, doesn't it start to seem kind of ridiculous that we're still talking about this? Let's get going. Forward the video to others. Talk about it to friends and family. Get her done. And for you sports racers, yes, this is an authentic black-on-black ducky t-shirt.